Good evening, everyone. Friday, 8th day of August is today, 2025. Thanks for joining me in this video. There is a deliberate act of deviating from the truth about the Biafra agitation in the Southeast by the Southeastern politicians. I purposely went to, to check the stance of all these top politicians, whether they stood for the cause of the agitation before or they stood against it. And I discovered that almost all of them were standing that, yes, there is a problem in Nigeria and the southeastern part of the country are the major victims of what is going on in Nigeria. Now, I saw the old video of Martyr SOLUDO, and so on and so forth. All of them were standing that the Biafra agitation, it is resurrecting because of the evil that is going on in Nigeria. This is what all of them were saying before. So in this video, I want you to watch what Soludo said before. This is an old video, it's not a new video. What Soludo said about Nnamdi Kanu, indirectly praising Nnamdi Kanu, saying good things about him and the Biafra agitation. So the question is this: why is all these politicians, or why are they deviating deliberately from the truth? Is it because of their political office, or is there anything else that they are not telling us? Stay with me in this video. At the end, let us discuss what could be the problem.
Nnamdi Kanu, in my view, threw a bet and Nigeria took it. Today, he is the most popular political prisoner and will end up either as a hero or a martyr. But to his credit, he has forced Nigeria and the world to discuss Biafra. I believe that keeping him there does not do Nigeria any good. I believe this young man should be released, and released like yesterday. I will not be surprised if he becomes a subject of the next political campaigns. Just like we dealt with Awolowo, who was convicted and imprisoned of treason, or Gowon, charged with treason, or even Ojukwu himself was forgiven, and so on and so forth. I don't want to make any predictions, but I believe we need to solve this. Because according to Ofodile, this book, quote, he said, the lesson to be learned, if anyone cares to listen, is that the detention of Nnamdi Kanu, no matter for how long, will not stop the agitation of Biafra, end of quote. He further argues that the detention of Uwazurike between 2005 to 2007 helped to radicalize his followers. The same thing happened when the leader of Boko Haram was killed. His followers became more radicalized. Detention of Nnamdi Kanu, I never heard of him before this time, to be quite honest. Never heard of him. I didn't even know about the IPOB or whatever thing. Until this thing, and you now realize globally it's become an issue and it's become mainstream. Now, and again, quote, he says, this book argues that the idea of a customary government under the Supreme Council of Elders in accordance with customary law enjoys the support among a section of the Igbo, but it is the Biafra or death philosophy of Nnamdi Kanu that found resonance across the length and breadth of the Igbo nation. Therefore, there cannot be a resolution of the Biafran dilemma without a wholesome engagement of the Nnamdi Kanu stroke Uche Mefo faction of IPOB. End of quote. That's what this was. So, if I were President Buhari, quite honestly, I would be very suspicious of anyone who advises me to ignore the Biafran issue. I'll be very suspicious. Anybody who says that is either ignorant or being mischievous, or quite patently doesn't mean well for the government itself. It probably wants the same government to repeat the mistakes of the past so that it could lead it down the train. We must start learning in this country. So let's talk Biafra. Where are the Igbo elite and the intelligentsia in all of this? Especially those in Nigeria. It seems, as this book points out, this is being driven mostly by the Igbo intelligentsia in diaspora, the new resurgence. The new ones within, there seems to be a division, 3 classes you can identify. The ones within the mainland, and I'm shocked, and you discussed, they have a different point of view. Those in diaspora within Nigeria, so to speak, who are in Abuja and Lagos and so on and so forth, Kano, Kaduna, and so on. And an elder was asked about that, living in one of these northern states, about Biafra, and they asked him, what do you think about this Biafra? He said, well, nah, I just didn't know. In other words, they should keep it up, but you know I can no longer go now. You see all the things I have here, I cannot carry them on my head. So, there seems to be a sense of either denial, and on one part, or people who think, no, it won't be, because we can't just imagine it. And because of some discussion that, oh, okay, if this happens, you will lose your property, you will lose that, and so on. Of course, that is untenable. I mean, I too was wrong on this, because if by any chance you have another state of Biafra, it will be the 16th state of ECOWAS. And that means you have free movement of goods and persons. But the fundamental question, the fundamental issue is that this debate is not happening. This whole thing is being driven almost in a haphazard manner. Last week, they called for, was that last week? Yeah, last week. They called for a sit at home. And even without anybody getting out to more in force and so on, I learned virtually Anambra and many other cities were completely shut down. It just tells you there is something going on. But, again, where is the elite in this? What is missing is structured debate and the apparent elite aloofness or complicity or hypocrisy. Elite in denial. For the politicians who think you can just, let's use them temporarily, let's use them. Just go on, while we can then use that to negotiate for something here. I can tell you, you will create a monster that will consume you. When that inferno comes, both us, everybody else, and the kind of thing that happened in Biafra where dissent, any dissent was considered a saboteur. Okay? You might get to a point where you will be telling them, just go on, while we can negotiate here, get something for ourselves in Abuja. I can tell you, these guys are no fools. At some point, they will look at you too and know that you're actually part of the problem. And so on and so forth. So, I say, let the debate must begin. The late Dr. Pius Okibo, in this book as well, presented what the memo by late Dr. Pius Okibo presented to the Biafran government on the economic viability of Biafra. Nobody is talking about what the currency will look like. How will you fare with international trade? What kind of constitution are you talking about? And Ofodile forcefully argues here that the Ahira Declaration of 1969 came too late. They had intelligentsia pushing for Biafra, but there was no organized structure. That if they had done what they did towards the end of the war at the beginning, Biafra would not have ended the way that it did. But what is shocking is people talk about this in their bedrooms and in their parlors. And then you come out and everybody is just, and so on. I'm sure it will not take long. So what I am calling is that we must, the elite, the intelligentsia, get out of the closet and let us, now that the issue, the president in New York made a point. He said there will be no referendum in Biafra. Now, and I said, my reaction to it was, oh my God.
So you have listened to what the governor of Anambra State is saying, the incumbent governor, Mr. Martyr SOLUDO. Actually, People do not understand the genesis of the resurrection of the quest for the restoration of the sovereign state of Biafra, or you could term it as Biafra agitation. A lot of people don't know the real genesis of all these things. And you see, all these people, especially the new generation Biafra agitators led by Nnamdi Kanu, I don't see anything that was contrary to the law that they were doing when they started. Even to the extent that these people went ahead and proscribed a group, an association that is not even carrying knife, that is not carrying weapon, that is not terrorizing, because they were seeing that their influence is a threat to their political dynasties. Well, that is just what I think that happened. Now, these people, because of politics, and they see that for you to be elected into any position, you don't have to stand that Biafra agitation is justifiable. You have to tell the whole world that you condemn it. You have to condemn people who are also agitating also, for them to see you as a good person. That is a betrayal of the highest order. But it's not limited to these governors. It's unlimited when you see the political class in Nigeria. It fills all their terrain, their thoughts, their doings, their homes. What they don't tell you is this. They know the truth, but they want to appear as, I'm a patriotic person. Okay? If they hear about someone who is saying, we don't want this country to go like this, let's do something, they'll come and tell you, no, you are not a good person. Nigeria is one, we must make it one. Sometimes I ask, what kind of education, or is it a culture that affects us? Because it's not about education. Professors are in this mess. Doctors are in this mess. Now, the truth about all these things is that you are seeing the problem. Let me tell you, this coming generation, they are not going to tolerate shit that we are tolerating. Okay? Despite our generation is different from all these old generations who keep on talking about Nigeria should continue like this. We disagree. But the generation that is coming forth, they will not tolerate shit. If one person dies, you will provide the question why the person died. So these are the problems, these are the issues we are facing. There is no sincerity again. People keep on dying. Almost every state is under siege. What is going on? And people say we should continue like this. Come on, it is not possible. Okay? It's either this or that. For me, I think everybody wants to be in a good country. Everybody wants to have a good country. So if it happens that this country didn't work again, people will be forced to talk about how this country is going to divide. And let me tell you, all part of the country are guilty of contributing to the destruction of Nigeria, okay? What I see is that there is incompatibility between all the whole tribes in Nigeria, or religions in Nigeria, and so on and so forth. The incompatibility is the issue, not the real people. But because of the result of the incompatibility is showing in people are saying Nigeria is tribe, all this. Anyway, I don't blame anyone for what they say. But what I'm saying is that Nigeria is not sustainable, and people must continue to stick with the truth. So that, let me say, from now till next, 2 decades, 3 decades, your next generation will be able to come out of this mess. So I know what I'm talking about. This is a generational bondage I'm saying. But it will take courage of the people to get out of this mess unto their freedom. I'm Okochapi myself. I'm a confident reporter. Let me know what you think about this video.